Hi everyone and welcome back. So I'm currently in the process of making the video for the next part of this particular build, and I'm just going to bring you up to speed. I will show you some bits and pieces for the build, but I'm going to turn around and say this is an exceptionally fiddly thing to get done. I'm just trying to get the light so I don't blind you all. Now, in the last video I had got up to basically the pedestal and the main body of the pom-pom. Just now I've popped on this tread plate. I will show you how I did that when I do the other tread plate. I just didn't think it would be worth mirroring the process for each side, and I have put these on, which unfortunately the video somehow I've lost the video, but this was basically just there was two pieces that went on, two squarish pieces that went on right against the body of the pedestal, and then a two-piece, this stretched piece here that you see is laminated. So there's two the same, you glue them together and then you put that to them, and I will obviously try and make a better effort to record the next bits that happen. But that's where we're up to so far. Okay, so there is a pivot mount, which would, not a pivot mount, but a hinge mount, which would control part of the elevation on the real life gun, which needs to go on. And from what I can make out on the destructions, it needs to attach to the eye, which is there, that eye there, because it has an eye itself. And it's only going to go one way round. So make sure you get it around the right way. To pop it on. Literally it goes on like so. Just there. Okay. So the next pieces I'm going to put on will be going in here and here. So that's piece 26 and 27. So glue for 26, and make sure you orientate that round the same way as it's shaped. There is a specific shape to this. So hope you can see that. And then piece 27 has a small hole in it, which the reason for that will become apparent when you put on the turning handle. So 27 has just gone on there, and I don't know if you can see, just make out the hole in the center, and what you're required to do is you're required to cut your own length of metal or plastic rod to go in there, and then the turning handle for the elevation for the gun goes onto that, but we'll come onto that in a little while. So next thing that goes on is something which is part of the sighting mechanism. Now, I have made this up already, but it is going to be repeated on the opposite side. So this is for the left-hand side, and it will be repeated for the right-hand side, and I will build that up and show you. There is an additional step for the one on the right-hand side, so I thought it'd be best to do the right-hand one rather than show you the left. But this glues onto where we've put the pivot on and aligned it. We're now going to just pop on a little bit of super glue there. I do apologise for the light flare. I've tried some different settings on my lamp, but I haven't found a good one yet. And then that should go on in place like so, and that will elevate up and down with the gun as it goes up and down to fire. Okay, so apart from the turning handle that I need to put on, which will go there because I need to source some rod, that's the left hand side more or less complete, and we'll be doing the right hand side next. Okay, so next piece that I need to do is this, and this is a bracket that I need to fold. So I'm going to be using, because it's such a small piece, I shall use the scalpels. It is scored in the appropriate place, and it just needs to go at right angles essentially, but then this needs to wrap around because it forms a bracket which will be glued onto the side of the gun pedestal. And then, don't know if you can see the anyway, there's a tiny little hole just there. There you go, it's coming to focus now. So there's a tiny little hole just there, and that is supposed to be for the piece of wire rod that the kit is recommending. Now the problem is that I've looked through the instructions, and unfortunately they do not give any lengths as to what you need to cut for these pieces of wire rod. So I think with this one, having looked at the Flower Class Corvette manual that I purchased, which has been an absolute godsend, so I've been looking at these technical drawings here, and it seems that there are only shortened lengths. So we are looking at this here, which is the, on the left hand side of the weapon, is the elevation handle, and that needs a short length, although it seems to have kind of like a cone shape protruding from it, but that's not modelled on this particular item. And then looking at the, if I bring in this, so looking at the rotation wheel, you need a rod. This piece of rod should go down here, and this is, appears to be set close to the bracket, and that's the bracket we've just moulded, that bracket just there. Okie dokie then. Right. So this goes on to the side. Just there. So it goes on just there, and then as shown in the diagrams, the rod will go at an angle down, and then there's a fixing point down here that it will go into, and we'll come on to that next. Okie dokie then. Right, so the next bit is part 29, which is a flat piece, and it goes in there. It's got a slot in it which will be used for the rod, which comes down from this part down to there. So that will go on just there at the bottom. Right, so you're probably not going to be able to see it, but in this part there is a slot that a tab will need to go into, and that is for, see if the part 31 or 32, I can't remember exactly which one it was. But the item is just basically that, and it has a small hole in, and that is supposedly the other end that the rotating rod comes out of, and that basically goes into position like so, so that when you put your piece of wire in or bit of rod, it goes diagonally from this one to that one, and then there's just a tiny little flange, which is that. You can just see it on my nail, and that will go on top of there, aligning the holes together. So the hole in this flange will align with the hole in that particular piece. And like so. And then the piece of rod will go on there, and then judging by the technical drawings, the turning handle is flush with this, as far as I can tell. So I measured it and it's about 1 centimetre, so all being well. And no, I'm going to need to trim just about 1 millimetre off that. Okay, and try again. And that will do. So there you go, in place. So the next bit I'm going to do is make up part of the gunsight system, and this is going to be parts 40 and 41. Now, not entirely sure if you'll pick up on this, but basically it's 2 parts that look like that, but on one side of each part, the sighting mechanism here is what I would say was ribbed, and so that needs to be on the outside, and you laminate these 2 together using super glue, and they go together basically like that, like so. So I will crack on with that now. So obviously once glued, it will go together like so. There are some other parts, but I find that it's best to put those parts on after you've glued this in place. So we'll just pop that to the side. Now we have the wheels here, turning handles, and don't know if you can see. But there's a little nub just at the top there. Now that needs to be folded at 90 degrees right angles, and then that forms the handle for your turning wheel. Then one of these goes directly onto like so. Now the other side, I'm going to try, because the other side is supposed to have a cone shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off the top of this piece of melted sprue that I stretched for a different model. So I'm just going to literally cut off about that much. And then what I'm going to do glue that in place, in position just there, which is where the turning handle will need to be. And then once that's set, I'll pop the turning handle on. So tread plate for the right hand side of the gun platform. Looks like that. It's got the tread plate checker pattern on it, and this folds. Whoops. Oh. Right, and this folds. Hopefully it will focus. And this folds across the top, so it will fold across a line which ends at the end of the checker pattern. Okay, so again, the way I'm going to do that is pop it on the table. Now this doesn't fold up all the way, so if you can see on this, the bar is angled, it's not upright, so you need to check against the Mini to ensure you've got it in the right place. So it could do with coming up just a little bit more. Right, so that's perfect, and then you just glue it in place. So some super glue on the bottom of the bracket there, and then some super glue on the top of the upright support on the tread plate, and then just take your time to make sure you get it in place. Like so, and then that's both the tread plates on. Okay, before I put anything else on, I'm going to put on the front shield. Now the front shield gets bent into shape similar to that, and it has 4 little feet. I don't know if you can see those just on the bottom of the shield there. Those must be in contact with the pedestal, with the gun pedestal, and I'm going to put this on before I do anything else now, and that goes into place there like thus, making sure that this center panel with the little cutout V goes underneath the main gun. So and that's it, in position like so. Next is the ammo can, and that goes on this side there. So again, glue on the sides, and then making sure that it's positioned so that the ammo feeds in the correct place, and that's in position there. You could probably just make out ribbing, which is a representation of shells in the ammo box. The next thing we're going to do is pop on the sight for the right hand side, which goes there. Okay, like so. Last two bits going on now, and that is part of the sighting system for the right hand side of the gun. So these are two parts. There is a shield with a sight in it, and this can only go on one way round, so, and it goes on with the slope to the right, and it goes on just behind the little ribbed area that I showed you earlier. And then there's this forward half ring sight, which also goes on. You can see that. So first things first, put the rear part of the sight on. So that goes on there, like so. And then this tiny little ring sight if you don't lose it, which I'll just pop on the corner of my hand so that I know where it is, that goes on the front of the sight arm. So the glue will go on just here. And then this is fitted to the front. So that is it now complete. So there you go. Now this is quite delicate, this, so obviously when you start painting it, just be very mindful that if you haven't soldered parts, just be careful of your brush strokes to make sure that you don't knock off anything. But there you go, now complete. When I have done the bandstand, let's move the light right out of the way, this will sit in the centre like so. Okay.